I bought this chest of drawers for $20 and sold it for $480. If we haven't met yet, I'm Jade. I'm a solo mum flipping furniture in Australia so that I can fund my dream home and I can teach you exactly how to flip furniture just like I am. This piece was made out of solid timber. It had a little bit of damage. The drawers were coming apart here, but that's an easy fix. There was some aesthetic damage up top, some scratches and a couple of little dings, but that was about all that had to be fixed. And for $20, I thought this was a steal. My first step on this flip was to remove all of the handles and the drawers so that I could start repairing the drawers that had come apart. This is an easy fix. I removed all of the runners off the drawers and then just pried apart where the dovetails were coming apart, removed the brad nails that had been put in place that were really doing nothing. I put some glue on there. This is just a quick set generic glue that I get from my local Mitre 10. I glued and clamped everything into place and let it dry. To remove the existing finish off the top of the piece, I'm using a chemical-based stripper. This is Poly Strip. It's available at Bunnings in Australia. It is a methylene chloride-based paint stripper, so it is pretty hardcore. You do need to wear effective PPE, so I'm talking a respirator, glasses and gloves. It does work very effectively though, and what I found was my carbide scraper, which I usually remove finish with, just wasn't taking this finish off effectively, so I went in with the chemical-based stripper. Poly Strip is water cleanup, so once I had removed the majority of that paint stripper residue, I went around with hot soapy water to give everything a scrub. I used that same hot soapy water to clean the body of the piece. I got inside, cleaned all of the drawer runners as well as the drawers. Once that was done, I removed the residue from the hot soapy water with just some plain hot water. On the top of the piece, there was this little defect in the timber, which had obviously been filled previously, but that filling had come out. You can see off to the left there a similar hole that has the filling intact. So in order to fill this, I actually mixed up some wood glue and sawdust. I like to keep some sawdust on hand from previous projects to do this. This is an old school woodworking technique. It works amazingly. You just want to make sure that you have a raised little mound of glue over the top with that sawdust so that when you sand down, you have everything filled effectively. While that was drying, I moved on to giving the piece where I was going to be painting a scuff sand. For those that are unfamiliar, scuff sanding is essentially creating some micro texture or a key on the surface, eliminating the gloss so that your primer will adhere to the surface effectively. What you are aiming for with a scuff sand is for the surface to look milky or matte. You don't want to see any of that gloss or any of that shine. Originally, I had planned to just do the top of this piece natural, but halfway through I thought, no, I want to create a little bit of balance. So I sanded down the baseboard and the little squat round legs to raw timber as well. To eliminate some of the golden orange tone that pine tends to throw when it's sealed, I mixed up a paint wash using these two colors. You can see me here applying with a microfiber cloth. I come back over with a dry old t-shirt to mop up any of the excess, and then I dry with my hairdryer. Paint washing is a fantastic technique because it allows you a lot of control to create custom looks. You can really cool timber down, you can warm it up, you can create neutral looks like what I am doing now, and that's because I'm going to be using a tone of paint which isn't going to be in alignment with that orange gold pine look. So this allows me to still have a natural looking timber tone with timber grain right next to that paint color that's going to be more cohesive. If you'd like to take a deeper dive into paint washing and creating raw timber looks just like this one, then I have a guide through the link in my bio. It's my raw timber furniture flipping guide, which will teach you everything that you need to know. I cover exactly what paints to put into your paint washes, what ratios to use, how to actually apply and seal for longevity, and I created a cheat sheet within that raw timber furniture flipping guide with all of my custom color combinations on it with examples on different timber so that you can hit the ground running and create some really beautiful custom tones from the get-go. Once the little glued patch on top was completely dry, I sanded down with 120 grit sandpaper followed by 180, finishing with 240 before moving on to paint washing the top with that same tone that I used on the base. When I was scuff sanding, I actually sanded down to raw timber in a couple of areas, and because I'm going to be spraying this piece a lighter tone, I opted to prime this one with Zinsser oil-based primer, and that's primarily because when you are spraying raw timber, you have the potential for tannin bleed, which is just a property in timber that comes out when water is applied to the surface. It manifests as a darker stain. It can be red, it can be yellow. I've had green tannin bleed stain before, and the only way to block that is to use an oil-based or a shellac-based primer. You don't have to use the aerosol can like I am doing now. I just find it to be easier cleanup. You could use a brush or you could use a high density foam roller. Once that primer coat was dry, I gave it a light sand with 800 grit sandpaper before moving on to my first coat of paint. I'm using my Wagner spray gun here. This is the fence and deck sprayer with the brilliant attachment, and I'm using water-based enamel paint. I made this paint color using Porter's Paint's Irish Linen and Dulux AquaEnamel in the color Antique. I've used a lot of different paints on furniture in the past, and by far water-based enamel is my favorite. This one is incredibly hard wearing. It's a trim paint, so it's designed to go onto window trims, door trims, architraves, places that are really going to be knocked around. So it's efficient to put onto your furniture pieces, but keeping costs low when you are furniture flipping for profit is probably one of the most important things. And because you can buy this paint in bulk, because essentially it's a house paint and it doesn't require a top coat, you're actually spending less per piece of furniture to spray it. So it is my go-to. I applied 2 coats to the body of the piece and all of the drawers, following the same process, sanding in between. Once everything was dry, I removed the tape. Before getting the drawer runners on, I gave them a really thorough wipe over and sprayed each of the wheels with some silicone spray just to make sure everything was sliding smoothly. My little apprentice gave me a hand to install all of the drawer runners, and then we moved on to selecting some handles for this piece. I was really torn between 2. I had this silver pewter set, but I also had an aged brass number as well. I ended up landing on the aged brass, but I do think that the silver would look amazing. So jump in the comments and let me know what your favorite would have been, the silver or the aged brass. To seal the timber on the top and the baseboard, I chose FIDDES Supreme Wax Polish in the color Light. This one is a unique, environmentally friendly, toluene-free blend. It has little to no smell, which I absolutely love, and it's easy to apply. You just use a microfiber cloth. You could use a brush if you prefer. Once this wax is on, it's quite matte, but you can buff it out to a beautiful sheen level within a couple of minutes, and it does come in a range of colors. But particularly over a paint wash like this, I like to use the Light because it has a light pigment in it and it actually dries light. Okay guys, here's a quick reminder of where this chest of drawers started out, and this is where we are now. It's such a classic color combination. I could see this going into so many different bedroom aesthetics. It's still got a neutral feel with a hint of color. I love the sheen throughout. You can still see that beautiful timber grain. Let me know what you guys would have done with the handles though. Would you have kept the aged brass? Would you have gone with the pewter? Is this one a nail or a fail?